The hallway smelled faintly of bleach and rain. The lights flickered overhead, buzzing softly like tired insects. Emma tightened her grip on her coffee cup as she waited for the elevator. It was late, almost 10 p.m., and the office building was nearly empty. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor, echoing down the corridor. Then she heard it. "Don't enter the elevator." The shout came from behind her. A man's voice, deep, panicked, raw. Emma froze. The elevator doors had just opened with a soft ding, revealing an empty, mirrored interior. She turned. It was the janitor, John. She'd seen him a few times around the building. Always quiet, always polite, pushing his mop and bucket with a kind smile and tired eyes. Tonight, his face was pale, his voice trembling. "Please," he said, breathless, "don't go in there." The hallway fell silent. Emma blinked, confused. "What? Why?" He glanced nervously at the elevator, then back at her. "Just trust me. Take the stairs. Please." Her heart raced. The man's hands were shaking. His uniform was damp, and his eyes looked haunted, like someone who'd just seen a ghost. Before she could respond, the elevator doors closed again with a soft hiss. They stood there for a long, awkward moment. The air between them was thick, humming with tension. John finally exhaled, looking down. "Sorry," he muttered. "Didn't mean to scare you. Just technical issue. Not safe." Emma nodded slowly. "It's okay. Just maybe tell maintenance." He gave a half-smile, then turned away, rolling his mop bucket down the hall. The wheels squeaked softly against the tile. But as he walked off, she noticed something. A tiny smear of blood on his sleeve. Her breath caught. She wanted to ask about it, but something in his slumped shoulders told her not to. Instead, she took the stairs, her heart pounding the entire way down. That night, she couldn't sleep. The image of John's face, his trembling voice, the fear in his eyes, kept replaying in her mind. Why did he yell like that? What was wrong with the elevator? And that blood? The next morning, the office was buzzing with quiet whispers. "Did you hear what happened last night?" someone said near the coffee machine. Emma looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" The woman lowered her voice. "The elevator. It crashed. Maintenance said a cable snapped. If anyone had been inside." Emma's stomach turned to ice. She nearly dropped her coffee. John had saved her life. All day, she couldn't focus. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that moment again, the look of pure terror on his face. When the clock hit 6, she did something she'd never done before. She looked up the janitor's address in the employee directory. She hesitated for a long time outside her office door, heart thudding, then whispered to herself, "I just want to thank him." Outside, the sky was turning purple. Rain had started again, soft, cold drops against her coat. Emma drove through the quiet streets until she reached a small house on the edge of town. The porch light was dim. The paint on the fence was peeling. She stepped out of the car, the gravel crunching beneath her shoes. Then she heard it, faintly, from inside the house. A child's voice, crying, and John's voice, low, soothing. "It's okay, sweetheart. Daddy's here." Emma froze at the gate. The door creaked open. John stepped out, still in his janitor's uniform, holding a small blanket in one hand. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Emma," he said softly, surprise and worry flickering across his face. "Why are you here?" She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The wind whispered through the trees. The rain grew heavier. Something about the way he looked, tired, guarded, almost desperate, made her chest tighten. And in that moment, she realized there was something he wasn't telling her. Something much darker than a broken elevator. White right pointing backhand index. What do you think John was hiding? Would you have gone to his house if you were Emma? Rain dripped from the porch roof like a ticking clock. Each drop echoed in the silence between them. John stood in the doorway, the light from inside spilling over his shoulders. Behind him, Emma could still hear the faint sound of a child sniffling. "Emma," he said again, his voice low and uncertain. "It's late. Is everything okay?" She hesitated, feeling small under his gaze. I just wanted to say thank you. For last night. You saved my life." He looked down, his jaw tightening. "You shouldn't have come." That stopped her. Not thank you, not you're welcome. Just that cold, heavy sentence. Her fingers gripped the edge of her coat. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay. You looked scared." John's eyes flickered, just for a second, with something she couldn't name. Fear? Guilt? He sighed and rubbed his temples. "It's nothing. Just go home, please." Then, from behind him, a small voice whispered, "Daddy." Emma's gaze shifted past him. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6, stood in the dim hallway. Her hair was messy, her cheeks red from crying. She clutched a stuffed bear so tight it looked like it might burst. John turned quickly, kneeling beside her. "Hey, it's okay, sweetheart. Go back to bed." "Yeah." "But who's that?" the girl asked softly, pointing at Emma. Emma crouched slightly, offering a gentle smile. "Hi, sweetie. I'm Emma. I work with your dad." The girl blinked, then buried her face in John's shoulder. Emma's heart softened. "She's adorable. I didn't know you had a daughter." He hesitated. "Yeah, it's just us." For a long moment, none of them spoke. The sound of rain filled the silence again, along with the faint hum of a TV from inside. Then John stood, his voice firm. "Emma, I appreciate you coming. But please, don't tell anyone you were here. It's better that way." She frowned. "Why would I tell anyone? I was just—" He shook his head. "Please." There was something final in the way he said it. Something that made her stomach twist. Emma stepped back, her shoes splashing in a small puddle. "Okay. But, John, if you ever need help." "I won't," he cut in gently, eyes full of quiet sorrow. She opened her mouth to argue, but his daughter tugged on his sleeve, whispering something that made his face pale. Emma caught only one word. "Monster." Her breath caught. "What did she say?" she asked softly. John forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Bad dream. She's had a lot of them lately." He started to close the door. Emma hesitated, heart pounding. "John, if something's wrong." "Good night, Emma." The door clicked shut. For a few seconds, Emma just stood there on the porch, rain soaking through her coat, her pulse roaring in her ears. Something was off. Something terribly off. As she turned to leave, she noticed something beside the window. A cracked photo frame, half hidden under a flower pot. She bent down, brushing away the dust. It was a family picture. John, the little girl, and a woman, smiling, holding them both close. But the woman's face was scratched out. A shiver ran down Emma's spine. She set the photo back and hurried to her car, her thoughts spinning. Why had he been so afraid? Why scratch out that face? And why did his daughter say monster? The rain hit the windshield harder now, like the sky itself was warning her to stay away. But Emma couldn't. Something deep inside told her she had just stepped into the middle of something dark, something that didn't want to be found. As she started the car, she glanced once more at the house. Through the curtain, she swore she saw John watching her. Not angry, not sad, just afraid. And when the lightning flashed, for just a heartbeat, she thought she saw another figure standing behind him in the window. A woman's shadow. Then darkness. Thought balloon, who do you think the woman in the photo was? And why would John's daughter call someone a monster? Emma barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that photo, the scratched-out face, the child's frightened eyes, and John's trembling hands at the door. By morning, her pillow was damp with sweat. She told herself to forget it, to let it go. But curiosity, it's a stubborn thing. And guilt. That too. At work, she found herself glancing toward the janitor's closet every time she passed the hallway. It was empty. No mop, no bucket. No John. She finally asked the security guard. Michael, hey, have you seen John today? Michael looked up from his monitor. The janitor? Nah. Didn't show up this morning. Her chest tightened. He didn't. Michael shrugged. Guy's quiet. Keeps to himself. But I'll tell you something. He's been through hell. Emma leaned closer. What do you mean? Michael hesitated, lowering his voice. Few months back, lost his wife. Accident, I think. After that, he stopped talking to anyone. Just worked nights. Said he needed to keep busy. Emma's stomach dropped. His wife. Michael nodded. Yeah. Sweet lady. Evelyn. I think her name was. They said she fell down an elevator shaft. Same building, actually. The world seemed to tilt beneath Emma's feet. Elevator. The same elevator John had yelled about. Wait, she whispered. You're saying his wife died here? In that elevator? Michael frowned at her tone. Yeah. Tragic. But, weird thing is, no one ever figured out why she was there. Maintenance logs said it was under repair. Door shouldn't have opened at all. Emma swallowed hard. And John. He was the one who found her. Silence. Heavy. Cold. Emma could barely breathe. Now, the fear in John's eyes made sense. The way he'd shouted, like a man reliving his worst nightmare. She spent the rest of the day staring blankly at her computer screen. The words on her monitor blurred together. That evening, when most of the staff had gone, she found herself walking toward the elevator. It was quiet. Too quiet. The light above it flickered faintly, the air colder here than anywhere else in the building. She pressed the button. Ding. The doors opened. Empty. Her reflection stared back at her, pale, uncertain. She hesitated, remembering John's voice. Don't enter the elevator. But something inside her whispered, you have to know. She stepped inside. The light overhead buzzed once, then steadied. The floor creaked under her weight. She ran her fingers along the panel. Level B2, she murmured. The sub-basement, storage, maintenance, and old records. The elevator shuddered as it descended. Then, click. The lights flickered. Emma's heart slammed against her ribs. Not now, she whispered. The elevator jerked to a stop. The lights went out. She was surrounded by darkness. For a second, all she could hear was her own breathing, fast, uneven, and the faint hum of machinery somewhere below. Then, from the darkness above her, came a soft sound. A whisper. John. Emma's blood ran cold. She pressed herself against the wall, fumbling for the emergency button. The sound came again, faint, broken, like static through an old radio. John, why didn't you save me? Her hand shook so badly she missed the button twice before finally hitting it. The elevator jolted, then began moving again, slower this time. When the doors opened, she stumbled out onto the basement floor, gasping. The air was heavy with dust and oil. Pipes lined the ceiling. A single fluorescent bulb flickered overhead. And in the far corner, she saw something. An old wooden door, marked maintenance records. Her pulse quickened. She opened it and found stacks of dusty binders, yellowed papers, and a cracked photo frame on a shelf. It was John again. Evelyn. Their daughter, smiling, happy. But this time, the woman's face wasn't scratched out. She was beautiful. Bright eyes, warm smile. And behind her, in the reflection of the elevator door in the photo, a shadow. Someone standing just behind her. Someone who wasn't John. Emma's knees went weak. She backed away, her breath trembling. Whatever had happened in that elevator years ago, it wasn't just an accident. And she wasn't supposed to find out. Thought balloon, do you think Evelyn's death was an accident? Or something much darker? And who could that shadow in the reflection be? Emma couldn't get the image out of her mind. The shadow behind Evelyn in that photo. It followed her, haunting her thoughts like a whisper she couldn't escape. By morning, she had made up her mind. She needed answers. And there was only one person who could give them. That evening, Emma drove back to John's house. The rain had stopped, but the ground still glistened under the pale moonlight. Crickets chirped in the distance. The air felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. She stepped out of her car, the gravel crunching beneath her shoes. Inside the house, faint light flickered through the curtains. A shadow moved. She knocked. No answer. Another knock. Louder this time. Finally, the door opened a crack. John stood there, eyes hollow, shirt wrinkled. Exhaustion carved into every line of his face. "Emma," he said quietly, "you shouldn't be here." She held up the photograph, the one from the basement. "Who's behind her?" "John." His eyes widened. His hand twitched, as if he wanted to snatch the photo away. "Where did you get that?" "In the building," she said, her voice trembling. "In the maintenance room. You told me it was an accident. But this," she pointed to the reflection, "this doesn't look like an accident." John's breathing grew uneven. His shoulders shook. Finally, he whispered, "Please, don't dig into this." "Why not?" Emma stepped closer. "Because someone might find out the truth." He turned away, running a trembling hand through his hair. "You don't understand, Emma. If they find out I talk to you." He stopped. "Who?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Who would care?" He looked at her then, eyes full of grief, fear, and guilt all tangled together. "She wasn't supposed to be there that night," he said. "Evelyn. She came to bring me dinner. The elevator was under repair. I told her to wait for me, but," his voice cracked, "she didn't." He sat heavily on the couch, burying his face in his hands. Emma stepped closer. "John, I'm so sorry, but that shadow." He lifted his head slowly. "That wasn't me." Her breath caught. "Who was it?" He hesitated. "It was the building manager, Robert. He was supposed to lock out the elevator. He didn't. He wanted the insurance payout. The company was going under." Emma stared in disbelief. "So you knew?" He nodded weakly. "I tried to expose him, but they called it an accident. No one believed me. They fired me, then hired me back as a janitor, to keep me quiet." His eyes glistened. "If I told anyone, they said they'd take my daughter." The room fell silent. The only sound was the slow, uneven breathing of a broken man. Emma's throat tightened. "John, you've been carrying this alone." He looked at her with tired eyes. "Some truths aren't safe to tell." Then, from the hallway, a small voice whispered, "Daddy." His daughter stood there again, holding her bear. Her voice trembled. "Is Mommy coming back?" John's face crumpled. He pulled her into his arms, tears spilling silently down his cheeks. Emma felt something shift inside her. Sorrow, anger, empathy, all tangled together. As she turned to leave, John called out softly, "Emma, please, whatever you do, don't go back to that building." She paused at the door. "Why not?" He looked at her, eyes wide, terrified. "Because she never left." Thought balloon, what did John mean? She never left. Was Evelyn's spirit still trapped in that elevator? The next night, Emma couldn't stay away. His words echoed in her mind like a drumbeat. She never left. By midnight, she was back in the building. The halls were empty. The air felt colder than usual, sharp, almost electric. She walked slowly toward the elevator. Each step echoed, hollow and distant. When she reached it, the light above the doors flickered once. Then again. Ding. The doors slid open. Empty. But the air that poured out was freezing, like stepping into a winter storm. Her breath came out in white clouds. She swallowed hard and whispered, "Evelyn." Nothing. Then a faint sound, a soft thump, like footsteps above her. The elevator trembled slightly. Emma's finger hovered over the door close button. She knew she shouldn't. She knew she couldn't. And yet, she stepped inside. The doors sealed shut behind her with a hiss. The hum of the motor started. The lights flickered. The numbers above the door began to count down. Then it stopped. The lights went out. Darkness. Her heartbeat roared in her ears. And then, a faint glow appeared in the mirrored wall in front of her. A reflection. A woman. Evelyn. Her hair hung damp, her face pale, her eyes filled with unbearable sadness. Emma froze. Evelyn? The reflection moved closer, but Emma hadn't. You shouldn't have come, Evelyn's voice whispered, soft as wind. He tried to save me. Emma's breath shook. I know. John told me everything. It wasn't your fault. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. He still blames himself. Tell him, I forgive him. The elevator lurched violently. Emma stumbled, hitting the wall. The lights flashed, blinding white, then darkness again. When she opened her eyes, the elevator doors were open. She was on the ground floor. The hallway was quiet. No sound. No one around. Emma stepped out, her legs trembling. Behind her, the elevator doors slowly began to close. And just before they did, she saw it again. Evelyn's reflection, smiling faintly. Peaceful. Then she was gone. The next morning, Emma drove back to John's house. He opened the door, bleary-eyed, looking like he hadn't slept. Emma, she smiled softly. She forgives you, John. His face went still. What did you say? She forgives you, she repeated. She said, you tried to save her. Tears filled his eyes. He leaned against the doorframe, shaking. For the first time, he looked lighter. He nodded slowly, whispering, thank you. The little girl appeared beside him, holding her teddy bear. She looked up at Emma and smiled. Really smiled. For the first time. Mommy's happy now, she said quietly. Emma's heart swelled. She smiled back. Yes, sweetheart. She is. As Emma walked back to her car, the morning sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. The rain had finally stopped. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of the city, the elevator in that old building began to move again. Smooth, steady, calm, as if it had finally made peace too. Thought balloon, do you believe love can truly linger after death? Not as a haunting, but as a promise left unfinished? Would you have gone into that elevator if you were Emma?